The wind moved slow across Ethan Ward's ranch, carrying dust and silence through acres of open land that stretched far beyond what the eye could follow. His boots hit the wooden porch every morning at the same hour, and his hands worked the same fences, the same gates, the same worn leather reins. People who passed through town called him dependable. Those who knew him longer called him lonely. Ethan never spoke much about either. He had buried his parents young, learned ranching from men who kept their words few and their distance wide, and built a life where every day looked like the one before. He fixed what broke, fed what needed feeding, and sat alone each night under a sky full of stars that felt too big for one man to look at by himself. He told himself it was enough. He told himself peace was better than complications. But when storms rolled through and the house creaked with emptiness, he wondered if God meant for a man to spend his whole life alone. He never said it aloud. He just kept working. One evening, the sky turned the color of old bruises, clouds piling heavy and low. Ethan had ridden into town for supplies and was heading back when the first drops of rain tapped his hat. He urged his horse faster, watching the horizon darken. Then he saw her. A figure huddled beneath the broken roof of an abandoned barn, knees pulled tight, arms wrapped around a canvas bag like it held everything she owned. She looked small against the storm, like something the wind might carry away if it blew hard enough. Ethan slowed. He studied her for a moment, the way her head stayed down, the way her shoulders curled inward. She wasn't resting, she was hiding. He dismounted and walked closer, boots crunching gravel. When he spoke, his voice came out gentle, like he was calming a spooked horse. "Miss, you all right out here?" She lifted her face just enough for him to see tired eyes and pale cheeks streaked with dust. Her lips moved, but her voice barely made it past the wind. "I'm fine." She wasn't. Ethan could see that clear as daylight. Her hands shook. Her breathing came shallow. She looked like someone who'd been running and didn't know where to stop. "Storm's coming hard," Ethan said. "You need shelter. My ranch isn't far." She hesitated, clutching that bag tighter, like letting go meant losing the only thing she had left. "I don't want to be trouble." "You won't be," Ethan said simply. He waited. Thunder rolled across the valley, low and threatening. Finally, she gave a small nod, so faint he almost missed it. He helped her onto his horse, and they rode through the first sheets of rain, cold and heavy. By the time they reached his ranch, both were soaked through. Ethan brought her inside, lit the stove, and handed her a blanket without asking questions. She sat near the fire, shivering, eyes darting toward the windows like she expected something bad to walk through the door any second. "What's your name?" Ethan asked quietly. "Maria." He nodded. "I'm Ethan. You're safe here, Maria." She looked at him like she didn't believe safety existed anymore. But she whispered, "Thank you." And that was enough for now. Over the next few days, Maria moved through the house like a shadow, careful and quiet. She washed dishes before Ethan could ask. She swept the porch without making a sound. She fed the chickens and never looked him in the eye for too long. Ethan didn't push. He'd seen enough broken things in his life to know you couldn't rush healing. Slowly, pieces of her story came through. She'd been living with relatives in town, working from sunrise to long past dark in exchange for a roof and meals. But the situation turned bad. She didn't say how. She just said she couldn't stay. So she left with what fit in one bag and walked until her legs gave out. Ethan understood running. He understood fear. He also understood that some people just needed a place to breathe without someone standing over them. So he gave her that. One evening, a week after she arrived, Maria joined him by the horse corral. The sky glowed soft orange, and the air smelled like grass and distance. They stood side by side, not speaking, just watching the horses move slow through the pasture. Then Maria's voice broke the quiet, small and careful. "You didn't make me leave." Ethan glanced at her. "Why would I? Most people would have." He shook his head. "You needed help." That's reason enough. Maria's throat worked like she was swallowing something heavy. You're the first person who's been kind to me in a long time. Ethan didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded and looked back at the sunset. Then Maria turned toward him, and her voice came out trembling but steady. One day I'll give you a child. To thank you. Ethan froze. The words hit him square in the chest, unexpected and serious. He looked at her, searching her face. Maria, you don't owe me anything. I didn't help you to get something back. I know, she whispered, but you deserve a family, and I want to give you one. Something shifted inside Ethan, something warm and unfamiliar, like a door opening in a house that had been locked too long. He'd thought about family before, late at night when the silence pressed too close. But he'd stopped believing it would happen. Now here stood a young woman, grateful enough to offer him the one thing he'd quietly wished for his whole life. He didn't answer right away. He didn't want her to feel trapped by her own words. Finally, he said slowly, Maria, you're safe here. That's all that matters right now. She smiled, soft and shy, and looked away toward the fields. The bond between them grew from that moment, built on something deeper than romance. Trust, safety, shared loneliness that didn't feel as heavy when they carried it together. Maria learned the rhythm of the ranch. Ethan taught her to ride, to mix feed, to check fences. She laughed more. He smiled easier. Neighbors noticed the change, said the ranch didn't feel so empty anymore. But peace never lasts long when the past knows where to find you. One morning, Ethan rode into town for supplies and came back with tension in his jaw. Maria saw it the second he dismounted. What happened? She asked, hands stilling on the bucket she'd been carrying. People were asking about you, Ethan said quietly. Your relatives. The color drained from her face. What did they say? They said you left suddenly. They asked if anyone had seen you. He paused, watching her carefully. They seemed more upset about losing your work than about your safety. Maria's hands tightened on the bucket. Old fears crawled back into her chest, cold and familiar. I don't want to go back. You won't, Ethan said firmly. The certainty in his voice made her look up. He wasn't asking. He was deciding. And for the first time, someone had decided to stand between her and fear. If this story is touching your heart, hit that like button and stay with us. Days passed uneasy. Maria stayed close to the house. Ethan kept watch. Then, one afternoon, horses approached. Maria heard them first and pressed herself against the wall, heart pounding. Ethan came out of the barn, wiping his hands. Two men rode up, faces hard and familiar. You've got someone staying here, one of them said. A young woman. Ethan's jaw tightened. This is my ranch. Anyone here is here by choice. She's family, the second man said coldly. We came to take her back. Did she tell you she wanted to go back? Ethan asked calmly. That doesn't matter. It matters to me. The first man leaned forward, voice sharpening. We can get the law involved. You do that, Ethan replied evenly. But until the sheriff tells me otherwise, she stays where she feels safe. The men stared, clearly not used to being told no, but Ethan didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't step back. He just stood there, quiet and unmovable as stone. Finally, the men turned their horses and rode off, muttering curses under their breath. Maria watched from the window, breath caught in her throat. When Ethan came back inside, she met him at the door, eyes wide. I'm sorry. You don't need to be sorry, Ethan said gently. This is your life, Maria. No one decides it for you. For the first time, someone had fought for her without hesitation. That night, she couldn't sleep. She found Ethan on the porch, staring at the fields under moonlight. She sat beside him. You protected me, she said softly. I protected someone who deserves peace. Ethan replied. No one ever defended me before, Maria whispered. No one cared enough to say I had a choice. Ethan turned to her. You're safe with me. That's all that matters. Tears gathered in her eyes. You changed my life. Ethan looked back at the quiet night. And you changed mine. But Ethan knew the men might return. The ranch was too exposed. Maria needed somewhere no one knew her. Somewhere she could start fresh. One morning he found her feeding Daisy and said, I've been thinking. She looked up, cautious. You deserve a peaceful life, Ethan continued. A place where no one knows your past. Where no one can take you away. What are you saying? I'm taking you somewhere new. A new county. A new start. Maria blinked, surprised. You want me to come with you? Only if you want peace. Only if you want a life without fear. After a long moment, she nodded. I trust you. They packed light, sold a few cattle, loaded the wagon. On the morning they left, the sky was bright and clear. Maria climbed onto the wagon seat beside Ethan, hands trembling, not from fear, but from hope. Ready? Ethan asked. She took a breath. Yes. As they rolled away, Maria looked back once. She wasn't sad. She was free. The road stretched long before them, but for the first time in her life, she wasn't walking it alone. And she knew, with absolute certainty, that she trusted the man beside her more than anyone she'd ever known. Let us know in the comments what moment moved you most so far. 2 days later, they arrived in Willow Creek, a quiet county tucked between gentle hills and wide meadows. The town was small, friendly, welcoming. No one knew Maria here. No one would question her past. Ethan found a piece of land for sale, a small house, an old barn, a few acres that needed work. But it was quiet, safe, and full of potential. This will be our new start, Ethan told her. Maria looked around, eyes wide. The house was worn but sturdy, with a porch facing the sunrise. Thank you, she whispered. Ethan smiled. Let's make it a home. Quote. The first weeks were busy. Ethan repaired the roof, fixed the barn, cleared brush. Maria washed windows, swept floors, planted flowers by the porch. Every day, the house felt more alive. At night, they ate simple meals by lamplight and talked about the future. Maria shared her dreams of learning to cook better, building a garden, maybe teaching children someday. Ethan shared his hopes of growing the ranch, raising cattle, having a family. Maria smiled when he said that, but didn't repeat her promise yet. She wanted to give him peace first. Their days were simple, but full of purpose. Ethan woke early to work the land. Maria followed, helping with chores, walking into town for groceries. People in Willow Creek were kind, welcoming, asking simple questions, and offering smiles. No one judged her. This kindness made Maria feel lighter than she'd ever felt. One afternoon, while Ethan repaired a fence, Maria brought him water. She watched him work, sunlight catching his hair, muscles moving steady and strong. To her, Ethan looked strong, not just in body, but in spirit. She set the jug down. You work so hard every day. So do you, Ethan replied, smiling. Maria hesitated. I want to help you build everything here, not just the ranch, but your life too. Ethan paused, leaning on the fence. You already do that. No, Maria said. I mean more than that. Ethan's expression softened. He waited, letting her continue. Maria took a breath. When you took me away from my old life, you gave me safety. You gave me a home. You gave me a future I never thought I'd have. She looked into his eyes. I want to give you something too, something from my heart. I still remember my promise, Maria whispered. I said I would give you a child one day. At the time, I said it because I was grateful. But now, I say it because I want to. Because you deserve a family. Because you deserve happiness. Ethan felt deep emotion rise inside him, so strong he had to look away. He'd hoped for family once, but never expected someone to willingly give him that future. He collected himself and looked back. Maria, you don't owe me anything. "I know," she replied. "That's why it's real, 'cause I want to build a life with you. I want us to create something together." Ethan stepped closer, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. Steady, respectful, full of quiet promise. "You changed my life," he said. "If you want to build a family together someday, then I would be honored." Maria smiled, soft and peaceful. "Then let's build it." Quote. Months passed. The small house became a true home. Maria painted the kitchen walls warm colors. Ethan built shelves. Together they repaired the barn, brought in animals, a cow, goats, chickens. They laughed often, shared meals, learned each other's habits. Neighbors assumed they were married. Neither corrected the assumption. It felt natural, like something that didn't need explaining. For the first time in her life, Maria felt safe. She loved waking to the sound of Ethan chopping wood, the smell of fresh bread, the quiet evenings on the porch watching stars. She no longer felt like someone who'd run away. She felt like someone who'd been found. Ethan transformed too. The loneliness that once weighed on him faded. He laughed more easily, worked with more energy, felt hope in every morning. He'd never imagined having someone by his side, not out of obligation, but out of trust and affection. One evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, Maria placed a hand on her abdomen, a gentle gesture full of emotion. "I have something to tell you," she said softly. Ethan turned. "What is it?" Maria took a slow breath. "I think my promise is coming true." Ethan's eyes widened. "Maria, are you saying?" She nodded, tears shining. "Yes. I'm with child." For a moment, Ethan didn't move. His breath caught. His heart felt too full for words. Then, he stepped forward carefully. "Are you all right?" "I'm more than all right," Maria whispered. "I'm happy." Ethan let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. Emotion filled his eyes. "Thank you for trusting me, for choosing me, for giving me a family." Maria smiled through tears. "You gave me everything first." The coming months were full of preparation. Ethan built a crib with his own hands. Maria sewed tiny blankets and baby clothes. Neighbors brought gifts and warm wishes. The house felt brighter than ever, filled with excitement and hope. Ethan stayed close to Maria, making sure she didn't work too hard. Maria reminded him she felt strong, safe, and ready. They had built a life together, not from luck or accident, but from kindness, courage, and trust. And when the day finally came, their child entered the world with a strong cry, filling the small house with life. Ethan held the baby carefully, hands trembling. Maria watched him, tears in her eyes. "You have a family now," she whispered. Ethan looked at her, heart overflowing. "We have a family," he corrected gently. Subscribe for more emotional Wild West stories that remind us love is built on trust, not promises. Maria smiled, reaching for his hand. Their journey had started with a storm, a quiet rescue, and a simple promise. But it ended with something far greater, a new life, a new home, a bond built from love, not fear. A rancher who thought he'd spend his life alone found a future he never believed he deserved. And a young woman, once lost and afraid, found the home, safety, and family she'd always dreamed of. The wind still moved slow across the ranch, carrying dust and silence. But now it carried something else too. The sound of laughter, the cry of new life, the warmth of a family that chose each other when the world said they had nothing. And in that small house in Willow Creek, under stars too big for one man to look at alone, Ethan Ward finally understood what it meant to be home.